Dante Bichette was simultaneously one of the better baseball players in the mid-90s and one of the worst. His tenure with Colorado is the greatest example of why sabermetric statistics like adjusted OPS, WRC, FIP, and SIERA are more valuable to use than traditional statistics like OPS and ERA. A quick backstory on Bichette: he was drafted by the California Angels in 1984, for who he played 3 seasons from 1988 to 1990. He wasn't a very good hitter or fielder. After 1990, he was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers, where he continued to struggle both offensively and defensively. Prior to the 1993 season, Bichette was traded to the new expansion franchise Colorado Rockies. It was in Colorado where his career took off. Before I get into Bichette's career for the Rockies, there's one quick thing about playing in Colorado I need to address. To make a very long story short, there is an unofficial term known as the Coors effect, named after the Rocky Stadium Coors Field. Since Denver is a mile above sea level, the air in the atmosphere there is thinner than compared to cities closer to sea level. Due to this thin air, baseballs don't move as much when thrown by a pitcher, and less air resistant makes the balls move higher and farther than at any other stadium. Pitching statistics at Coors Field have historically been bad, while hitting has historically been great. Perhaps the best example I can give is from 1995 to 2001. Pitchers had an average ERA of 4.37 at stadiums excluding Coors Field. At Coors Field during that same time frame, pitchers had an ERA of 6.50, more than 2 additional runs scored per game than on average. All you need to know is that playing in Colorado will inflate offensive statistics and deflate pitching statistics. We'll get back to this later. Back to Bichette. Once he got to Colorado, his career took off. In the 5 seasons before joining the Rockies, Bichette batted .254 with a .286 on base and .397 slugging with a 91 adjusted OPS. In 7 seasons with the Rockies, Bichette batted .316 with a .352 on base, .450 slugging, and a 112 adjusted OPS. Within those 7 seasons, Bichette made 4 All-Star teams and received MVP votes in 4 seasons, including a second-place finish in 1995. As of the 2021 season, Bichette ranks in the top 10 all-time Rockies in games played, hits, home runs, RBIs, and basically every offensive category. He is one of the greatest hitters in Rockies franchise history on the surface level. Bichette played for the Rockies from 1993 to 1999. Including Bichette, there were 116 players during this time frame to have at least 3,000 plate appearances. Of those 116 players, Bichette ranks first in hits, third in doubles, third in RBIs, 17th in home runs, 37th in stolen bases, 25th in OPS, and 63rd in adjusted OPS. One of the better hitters during this time, right? Well, despite being in the top 25 in almost every offensive category, despite several All-Star Game selections, despite being the runner-up for MVP voting in 1995, Bichette ranks 112th out of 116 in WAR. A measly 4.3 wins above replacement during those 7 seasons. But how? How could one of the best hitters during this stretch statistically also be one of the worst players overall? Was he really that overrated? In hindsight, yes. There are a few reasons why this is, and I also want to talk about 2 of Bichette's seasons in Colorado as well. The first reason why Bichette is overrated is the Coors effect. To put it bluntly, playing in Colorado inflated Bichette's stats. Out of those 116 players mentioned earlier, Bichette ranks 25th in OPS, yet 63rd in adjusted OPS. This means there were 58 players that had a lower OPS than Bichette, yet a higher adjusted OPS. You see, adjusted OPS adjusts a batter's OPS to include external factors such as league average and home ballpark. Because Coors Field inflates offensive statistics, Bichette's OPS was inflated due to him playing all of his home games there. While the Coors effect may have inflated his OPS, adjusted OPS adjusts for this, bringing down his ranking to 63rd. Second, the steroid era. As mentioned earlier, adjusted OPS adjusts for factors such as ballpark and league average. Bichette's Rockies tenure started right around the beginning of the steroid era, which itself raised offensive numbers. Since offense was at an all-time high in the mid and late 90s, Bichette's adjusted OPS was compared to the already high league average, even more deflating it. Bichette may have had a high OPS, but so did so many others in baseball. Third, his defense. To explain it lightly, Bichette was a very poor defender in a very unimportant position. Different positions can skew WAR, as some positions are more important defensively than others. A great fielding catcher or shortstop is more important than a great fielding corner outfielder or first baseman. Bichette played exclusively left field and right field as a Rocky, two positions that don't add much value to a player's WAR. Couple that with the fact that Bichette was a terrible defender, and his value on the field was as bad as it gets. Out of that same list of 116 players used from earlier, Bichette ranks second to last in defensive WAR. Among all MLB players all time, Bichette has the 41st lowest defense WAR of all time. Any offensive production Bichette put up was almost all faded by his well below average defense. It was that bad. Those are the three main reasons why Dante Bichette is an overrated player and why his WAR is incredibly low. A 4.3 WAR over 7 seasons in Colorado and a 5.7 career WAR overall are incredibly low for someone like Bichette. Among all MLB players all time to have at least 3,000 career plate appearances and an OPS as high as Bichette's, Bichette has the second lowest WAR among all those players. There are 479 players in baseball history to have as many plate appearances as Dante Bichette. Bichette ranks 477th in WAR, almost dead last. Out of that same group, Bichette ranks 135th in OPS, yet also ranks 338th in adjusted OPS. Over 200 players in MLB history have a lower career OPS than Bichette, but a higher adjusted OPS. There has never been a player who is that good as a batter to have such a low WAR and adjusted OPS, and there never will be one again. To wrap up, I want to quickly summarize two of Bichette's seasons in Colorado. First, his 1995 season. In 1995, Bichette led the National League in home runs, hits, RBIs, slugging percentage, and total bases. He came second in MVP voting that season and also won a Silver Slugger Award. He was worth 1.2 WAR that season. That 1.2 WAR ranked 179th among all position players. 179th overall, and he nearly won the MVP. Lastly, let's quickly discuss his 1999 season. He hit .298 with a .354 on base and a .541 slugging. That's an .895 OPS. He hit 34 home runs, 38 doubles, drove in 133 RBIs, and scored 104 runs. Normally, that would be an outstanding offensive year, perhaps even one of the best in baseball. He was worth negative 2.3 WAR. It's the lowest amount of WAR a qualified player has ever had in a season in which he posted an adjusted OPS of at least 100. Nobody will be that good and bad at the same time ever again. Bichette is in a class of his own.